Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici. Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Vincenzo and the channel is Fountain Pen Therapy, and I've got my first Chinese Grail pen. There is absolutely no doubt in what I'm saying here. This gem, spoilers alert, has opened my eyes. It has inspired me. And I think it was worth every penny. And let me explain to you why. Fountain Pen Therapy presents the beautiful, unique Chinese Grail, the Hongdian D6 Han Dynasty. Okay, so this is a special unboxing. I just received this package, and I think I know what this package is all about. So far, it looks really, really nice. So let's just make sure I don't ruin it by removing this. Okay, here we go. Sorry about the noise. Now, how do I open this? Oh, I see. Okay, so this is just a wrapper. Isn't that really nice? I'm sure that means something. It's probably in Chinese. That means something as well, but wow, that is really nice. I think some of you might already suspect what this is. Don't you? Let me just do this. Are you ready, folks? Wow. Whoa! Well, that's not good, in the sense that this should have been in here, and maybe the way I shook it kind of made everything roll out. But here it is, folks. Here is that majestic Monte Grappa-like over the wall Chinese hand pen. Wow, that is really, really nice. 18 karat gold nib. Now we're going to take a look at this much closer. I can tell you, I'm very impressed. The weight is not as bad as I thought it would be. I mean, it is over the top in terms of design, and the lacquer here, just the trimmings are just spectacular. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Whoa. There is that 18 karat gold, or so they say. I don't know about the size. It looks like a number 6. And I suspect it's a number 6. Wow, this is a really nice pen, folks. Well, I'm not going to do anything more than just tease you with this. This obviously went in here, and this was meant to, I'm not sure how this was packaged, frankly, but I think that's the way it was. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this was all about, but it was not in its right place when I opened it. And of course, there's a booklet that will explain everything to me, but it's all seemingly in Chinese. Well, it tells me how to fill it. It's a user manual, but I think the other information about the pen itself, unfortunately, is in Chinese. But I'll take a closer look and maybe even try to translate it for you if I can. So far, I am really, really happy with this pen. But I thought I'd share the unboxing, at least this week. But stay tuned. We have a lot of work to do this weekend, let me tell you. There you have it. I'll be back with my next segment. Okay, so we're back with the pen. Here she is. First of all, just a few words about the Han Dynasty. It's said to have occurred between 202 BC and 220 AD. And I'm just reading some facts. Apparently, it was the golden age in Chinese history, established, in effect, two areas, the Western and the Eastern periods. It established Confucianism as the state ideology, and it created a civil service system and fostered the Silk Road. The significance of this dynasty is set in the fact that it founded Chinese culture and identity, with the majority of modern Chinese people referring to themselves as the Han ethnic group. Those are some of the key facts. Now, I'm not an historian buff, but what I do appreciate is the fact that a pen can evoke, through its design, historical, cultural, and artistic symbolism. And I wish there was a little more of that in our North American or Western culture. Now, I know that Monte Grappa does a lot of that, which is fabulous, except their pens are just those pens are completely unaffordable. Delta's done it in the past. But, now you have the Easterbrooks and the Navalors and even the Leonardo, although they try to evoke some historical and cultural aspects. I think it falls short, which is too bad. On the other hand, people might say, well, look, a fountain pen is meant to be written with. You're right. It's not meant to be an encyclopedia or Wikipedia or, so why require that of a pen? And I guess, the debate can continue. All to say is that I really appreciate this pen. And what I propose is that we take a look at some of its key features. Now, all of this information I obtained by translating that booklet that comes with the pen. The first thing that I think they want to stress is when you look at the entire cap and barrel, you see an almost not three-dimensional, but what they refer to as 3 layers. Okay, you can see there's a bottom layer here. There is a second layer right there, and then there appears to be like a third layer right here. And that's why they refer to it as a three-layered base. And it's just spectacular. I mean, you've got to take a look at this top finial. Now, there's all kinds of symbolism here. The clip is, in fact, well, let's start with the top finial. Just the top, there is what they refer to as the imperial seal. The clip is the sword of the Emperor Gazoo. And on the side, you have a cap with dragon motifs that depicts, the power of mythical beasts, as they put it. All of that is, in fact, that you see there, all that gold is vacuum gold plating, which apparently offers excellent corrosion and discoloration resistance. Now, the red parts use what is referred to as cold enamel technology. It's got that three-dimensional depth of all the carvings that use the lost wax techniques, often used, by the way, by Delta, at least in the past. Now, when we open the pen, let's just see how many turns to open the pen, which by the way, is extremely smooth. That's one. It's 1.5. Yeah, no, 1.5. Now, that section depicts the opening of the Silk Road, which unifying the East and the West. The nib itself is an 18-karat dual-colored nib. The engraving is supposedly, it's hard to see, but it depicts some very heroic and historic battles. Now, this is extremely smooth, by the way, and we'll get into the grip, the actual pen, in a second. If we go up to the finial, the top finial, this is supposed to represent the wooden bell with all kinds of historical and cultural symbolism on it. But as you can see, it's in the shape of a bell, and that serves as a piston system, which is extremely smooth, by the way. So that's the piston. And is there an ink window? Yes, there is. You see that floral pattern? That is the ink window. So it even has an ink window. Now, all of the patterns in that red enamel, has all kinds of symbolism, which I will not get into. But beautiful grip section, by the way. It is not slippery at all. The threading is you can definitely feel it, but you feel quality as opposed to any scratchy or obtrusive feel. It's just quality all around. If I go back to the top, the cap, that ring depicts different engravings that symbolize, culture, economy, science, medicine. Again, lots of symbolism there. What else do I need to talk to you about? Yeah, I think we've covered the basic features of this pen. I think it's majestic. I think it definitely beats the D5. Some people might say it's over the top and it's not for me, and I understand it, but I think this is a collection piece. And I apparently may have overpaid for it. I think it was $400 and some dollars on AliExpress. But when you think that you barely can get an Italian pen for that price, which just has some resin. I think this was worth the money. I think it was. I think it's going to, I'm hoping that nib is as juicy as it looks. But there you have the main features of this pen. Now, let's go back and concentrate on what it's supposed to do, which is supposed to write. The pen is extremely comfortable in the hand. It sits really nicely in that nook of my hand. It's not overly long. Does it post? It does post if you have to, but I'm afraid, one, it backweights the pen tremendously, and two, I think it engages that piston. So I don't believe, and I really don't want to scratch anything, I don't believe that you should cap this pen, and I don't believe it's meant to be capped. I mean, theoretically you can do it, but you run the risk of engaging that piston system. Supposed to be high quality piston. We shall see over time. But there is the pen. What I propose is that I'll put up some measurements as well. But before we do that, and before we get to the writing sample, I want to compare it. So we'll be right back and do a comparison. Now we're back for a pen comparison. I have here a series of pens which I think are, if we're going to consider this pen a grail pen, well, you can see this is my original Delta Dolce Vita. This is the Pelikan M100, the Sailor King of Pen, the Mont Blanc 149, and the Visconti Homo Sapiens. As you can see, it is the smallest in the gang. Both, I would say to you, in length. Girth, I think it's equal to as big as the M100, but I think that gives you an idea. It's not a small pen. And, well, the girth actually could also equal the Homo Sapiens, but that gives you an idea of how big, or how it compares to some of these other grails, and that's a comparison with the pen capped. Here are the same pens, but uncapped and unposted, and of course the first significant difference is the size of the nib. That's clearly a number 6 size. The rest are much bigger, except for the Homo sapiens, which I would say to you is a number 6 size, but this is number 8. The Pelikan is unique in its own way. It's just huge nib, and both the Sailor and the Mont Blanc are, generally speaking, number 8 nibs, even though some have suggested that the 149 is referred to as a number 9 size nib. But you could see the difference. But the overall length, it's as long as the Sailor and the Mont Blanc, in essence, and there's not much of a difference. Now, I'm not going to do a comparison capped, because as I mentioned, I don't think that you should cap this pen, because you will engage the piston, and it becomes ridiculously long and back-weighted given the weight of the cap. Okay, so by the way, that we're here because I missed it, is what do we see in this cap? Yeah, there's a plastic insert, or a kind of a sleeve in there. I do believe that right at the end I may see a little step down, but it's not clear. But I suspect that it will not dry up on us, and I hope. Although generally speaking, I've noticed that Hongdian pens over time do not last as long as any of these. I can assure you, they do have a tendency to dry up eventually, even some of their better offerings. But only time will tell in that regard, and we can revisit the dry nib issue, if any, in the future, and we can address them once we've had a chance to play and write with the pen for a while, and once you've had a chance to just lay it down, let it sleep for a while as well. So there you have the comparison. Now, some of you might want to see a comparison between this pen and the first of the Chinese dynasties, which is the D5, evoking the Qin, and I may be pronouncing that wrong, the Qin dynasty. So we'll be right back. Okay, you have it here next to the D5, and you see the different versions that I have. I may have actually one more, but I just can't find it. Yeah, that's the number one, the D5. It is quite elaborate as well. I've forgotten how elaborate it was. You could argue that this is much even more over the top, so to speak, but I just find that the quality of the gold and the gold trimmings is much nicer on the D6 than on the D5. D5 gold is kind of, we guess, shiny, as opposed to a little more matte finish, giving it just a better quality in my view. A little more like the N24, which I've included, but you can see it's a little bit smaller in that regard. Okay, just very quickly in terms of if I uncap the D5 and the N24, chosen the N24 just because it is one of the more elaborate Hongdian pens, but there you have it. And in terms of length, it's probably as long as the N24, but just slightly shorter than the D5. Now, in terms of those nibs, I've always wondered whether or not I landed a gold nib, because that gold nib on this particular green version is so springy that, I said maybe they made a mistake and they gave me, because there is a gold version, by the way, of the D5. I don't have it, never got a chance to buy it, but there you have a comparison of the nibs. They're generally the same size. The D6 looks a little bit smaller just because I think it's probably just inserted a little bit deeper. But essentially we're talking about a very, very similar nib. In terms of the feeds, I think the feeds are plastic. I don't believe they are ebonite. But there you have it. It's the same high quality plastic feeds, however. The tipping, we shall see. The tipping on the 6 appears to be a little bit juicier. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see the tipping on the D6 is much bigger. It's got just a little bit of that Waverly look. Hopefully it is, because if it is, it's going to just write all that much better. In any event, there you have that comparison. And we will, of course, compare, because I've introduced something new in my reviews. It's nice to compare size, but I think it's also important that we compare the nibs of different pens, just to give you an idea of how close it writes and how it compares to some of the other pens in the same category. So, measurements, and then we'll get to those writing samples. Be right back. Okay, so we're back now for the writing samples, more than one. We'll start with writing sample of the pen itself. First of all, the paper is Tomoe River paper, original. Hard time choosing the ink. I said, it's a red pen. We should put red ink in there, but I find that red inks just don't give me the writing experience that I'd like to have, and it's just a subjective, personal thing. So this is the best thing. I think Yamabudo, if I have to go red, and I'm running out, I'm going to have to order another bottle, Yamabudo is where I want to go. And All of these pens generally that I'm going to compare this to later on all have good inks, so they don't have all the same inks, but they have good inks. But let's start with the pen itself. So here it is. So far, very comfortable. I can see that little Waverly nib staring at me. I'm just hoping it's juicy. Oh my God. I don't know if you folks can see that. Let me just get in a little closer. Hongdian D6 Han. So far, it is juicy, wet, smooth, and it's got a little bounce. The nib is a Hongdian. The ink the paper I'm blown away, folks. Okay, smoothness. Very, very smooth. Without exaggeration, we'll compare later, but I think it's the smoothest Hongdian nib that I've written with. Very smooth. Wetness. Very, very wet. Almost a gusher for a fine. Okay? Very, very wet. As you can see. Okay, bounce. I don't know if you could see that. You see that? Very bouncy. So this is a normal line. Here is a line. And I wish I could do my eights a little bit better, but it's because I don't know how to do this, but I can tell you it's got bounce. When I press on it, it's a medium. So it's soft and bouncy. Consistency. Fast writing, not a problem. That's me. No hard start there. Very nice. Let me just back out a little bit here. Okay. Likes and dislikes. I can tell you right away, folks, likes, dislikes, I have none. Sorry. The design and the build quality is excellent. The materials used, and for a metal pen, it's not overbearing, if you know what I mean. It sits really comfortably, and I can see writing with this pen, long sessions, not a problem. The nib is just fabulous, 10 on 10 everywhere around. What else do I need to deal with? Value? Well, folks, at 400, what is it, 450, I think it's about Canadian, which is roughly, 300 US? Well, maybe 320 US, let's just say. I mean, I tell you, they're selling garbage pens at $300 these days. So the value is there. Is it a go-to pen? No. It's a little bit over the top for me to bring this in a in a work setting, and I don't think I want to use this $400 pen on a daily basis. I think this is my little grail that I will enjoy at home, but it doesn't mean that it's not worthy of being used every day, if you know what I mean. I won't. Wow. It's almost like pelican wet, if you know what I mean. It has a mind of its own. And because of that little Waverly tip, it's juicier. Even though it's a fine, it's much juicier. It's writing, in my view, almost like a medium. Okay. Now that we've done that, let's compare it to... Now, I got quite a few pens, okay? I got some gold pens, and I've got some steel pens. Let's start with the gold. Here's my Homo sapiens. This is my I would say that the Hongdian is smoother, but just as wet. And this is finer. Finer, more feedback. But in terms of bounce, they're equal. Yeah, it's got the same bounce as this pen. Now, some of these are number 8 size nibs, so the comparison may be a little bit flawed, but you know what I mean. This is the Delta and yeah, this is stiffer and more feedback. So far this is smoother than these two. What have I got? Well, Sailor is always unique. I can't give you the 149 because I don't have a fine, but this is Sailor, King of Pen, and even this one, I think this is a medium now that I think about it, but it's as juicy as my Sailor, but the Sailor's got that unique feedback. But the Hongdian barely has any feedback, folks. Barely. So if you want feedback, you're not going to get it from that Hongdian, I can tell you. It's so smooth. This is my Optima from Aurora, And again, this is thinner line, less smooth. And this is stiffer. So, and Aurora nibs are good, well known, and this is much stiffer than the Hongdian. This is my newly acquired Scribble fine nib. I had a flex nib in there. This is just a standard fine. So this is the Scribble. Oh. Equal in all respects. That's interesting. This Scribble fine, in my view, writes virtually the same writing experience as the Hongdian. Equal. It's a gusher, it's bouncy, it's smooth, very little feedback, and it almost writes like a medium. Interesting. Have I gone through? Yeah, I think I've gone through all the gold nibs. But just to give you some idea of where it stands, let's compare it to this Jinhao 100. Can tell you just as wet, but it's stiff like a board. No bounce. This is a newly acquired Jinhao, and I just kind of fallen back in love with these pens. They write really well, especially if you're looking for just a stiff, precise writing experience. Sometimes bounce may get on your nerves. Oh, I missed one gold one, which is the platinum. Now this is a medium, but the platinums write like fines. So this is the .3776. Yeah, this is thinner line, drier, but almost equal in bounce. Except the bounce there in the Hongdian kind of gives you a bigger line. Here it doesn't. So I'm not sure how to. Maybe the platinum is not really bouncy, but more, it's just soft. You can tell it's a gold nib. Okay, so let's go back to the steel. What I'll do is I will switch pages. Now let me just get a blotter. I don't want to, maybe some ink there. Okay, let's go to this page. What else have I got for you? Let's compare it to what I find one of my better fine steel nibs, which is this Leonardo. Yeah. Almost equal. It's got the same wetness, same bounce, and smooth. Very similar. I mean, the Hongdian has got that little bit of a Waverly nib, so it's a little. In other words, the nib touches the paper on a wider surface, so you can feel the smoothness, whereas this just has a little bit more cut. But still, this is a juicy, wet writer. So, okay, that's the Leonardo. Now let's compare it to some of the others. And again, forgive me for using number 8 size nibs, but if you're wondering whether or not That Hongdian is better than the Asvine Fine. Oh, very comparable. Now these Asvines are extremely wet, so the Fine really writes like a medium, smooth, just like the Hongdian, but no bounce compared, well, no bounce. I should say less bounce, because this is a soft. But again, that Hongdian, and let me just write with it again, just in case I'm losing touch with the comparison here. Yeah, oh man, this is Pelican-like. It writes like my Pelican. Let me just compare it very quickly. Now, you'll forgive me because my Pelican is a broad. Here it is, but the feeling is similar. Does it have ink? Yes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting a fine nib with this. It's exactly the same bounce. I'm getting the same bounce. Of course, this is a broad as I'm getting on this Pelican, which is exciting news for me. Let's compare it to the N24. This is the Hongdian N24. Yeah, there's no comparison. As nice as this is very stiff. Because the nib is decorated in a similar well, not the same decoration, but it looks, that dual colored, looks similar. But you can tell it's not gold. Now, this is the one that I keep saying, I've got a gold nib by mistake. But let me just see. I gotta tell you guys, Hongdian D5, very similar. Let me just write with it again, because I don't want to mislead you. I'm back with the other one. Yeah, no, this is much smoother. I would say similar bounce, but bouncier, thicker, smoother, and wetter. So if you're wondering whether or not the 18 karat nib is worth the expense, absolutely. Just two more, folks. Bear with me here. We're almost there. I want to compare it to the new, this is the new Vincenzo Fine. So this is the new, yeah, the Vincenzo is thinner line, less bounce, yeah, that's about it. This rates like a real fine, but I gotta tell you, this is a beautiful, beautiful nib. Folks, Vincenzo, number 8 size nibs, the new ones, you gotta get them all. And it's not gonna cost you $400. Last but not least, I want to compare it to the new Mahjong, that new fine nib. Actually, this is the extra fine nib. The fine nib is coming, but this is the new Mahjong extra fine. Yeah, the nib is just overall stiffer. I can't compare the line because it's a different one is extra fine, but much stiffer, the Mahjong. Okay, so the conclusion that I draw is that this pen with the gold nib is worth every penny. Every penny, folks. If you're looking for a very thin and scratchy, not scratchy, but feedbacky sort of a nib, a little more in line with, for example, my Visconti, okay? You're not going to get it in this Hongdian. This Hongdian, I mean, take a look at that, how thick that is compared to the rest. It is, in my view, pelican-like. So it writes, look, I don't have a fine pelican, but if I'm assuming that all the nibs on these M1000s, and when I say pelican, M1000 pelican, because the M800 is very stiff in my view. So if I'm assuming that the softness of this M1000 nib is equivalent in the fine, medium, and broad, it is as bouncy as this. It really is. To the point where you kind of lose control, if you know what I mean. Now, that's it. I'm going to stop right there because I think I can talk about this pen forever, and I don't want to do that. So let's just go back so you can see my face again. Folks, I am blown away. I am completely blown away. I took longer than usual, but I did want to give you, a lot of you might be saying, Jesus, am I going to spend $400 for this? How does it, is it really 18 karat? Folks, it's 18 karat. At least it feels like 18 karat. There's no doubt in my mind that it feels like an 18 karat nib. The nib is juicy, it's wet, it's springy, it's got the little waverly tip, which makes it even smoother. But like I said, if you're looking for a gold feedbacky sort of a fine, you're not going to get it here. You're not going to get it in this one. I love this pen. I'm giving it 10 on 10. It's worth every penny. I may have overpaid this. From what I understand, the sellers, now that they're in North America, are taking advantage because it's much cheaper if you bought it in China. But I don't live in China, so it is what it is. Is it over the top? Absolutely. Is it too much? Perhaps, but not for me. I think it's my first Chinese Grail pen, and it's going to get me to look at Chinese gold nibs now because, I've been suspecting that the quality is not there. But let me tell you, getting the Wing Sung gold nibs might be in the cards now. It might be in the cards now. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope that was useful. I hope that was entertaining, informative, and inspiring. And please subscribe. And before you leave, please, I'd like you to hit the subscribe button, the alert, and the like, and drop a commentary. I always like comments. They inspire me. Grazie molto. Thank you very much. Enjoy your pens. Enjoy your inks. Enjoy your paper. Enjoy your life. Ciao.